Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Raful. I am your host today of Camp Broadway's At This Stage with our partners at Streamable Learning. I am so happy to be talking to you live from my apartment in New York City, connecting you with Broadway professionals both on and off the stage, connecting them to you, our families, our students, and our friends. Start thinking of those questions you have for our guests today. We'll be together for the next 35 minutes or so, and I promise I will get to as many of them as I can. All right, I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today. Our guest is Joshua Turchin. Hi, Joshua.
Hi.
All right, I'm going to give you Joshua's short bio, because if I did the long bio at 13, I already would be here all day. All right, so Joshua is a 13-year-old professional actor, singer, composer, musician, music director, accompanist, and dancer who recently completed the first ever young adult role in Forbidden Broadway, The Next Generation. He is now, I guess, on pause in rehearsals for the musical Trevor, which is scheduled to open off-Broadway at Stage 42. Joshua has also performed in his own show off-Broadway, The Perfect Fit, that he wrote music, lyrics, and book for, as well as The Little Mermaid Live at the Hollywood Bowl, just to name a few credits. Welcome, Joshua. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I'm going to raise my volume so I can hear you. Where are you today? How are you feeling?
Right now, thankfully we got out of New York when it was just starting to get really bad. I think it was literally a day after we stopped rehearsals for Trevor, or put him on a little suspension, and we went quickly to South Florida. So that's where we are right now. We're in our house, and I'm feeling pretty good.
Good.
Definitely really, really sad because not New York, but still.
Yeah, you're good. All right, so let's go back. Before we talk about Trevor and all the cool stuff you've done in the past year or so, let's go back to, a long, long time ago when you were a kid. What were your first memories of theater or music? How was that introduced to you? Is that big in your family?
Well, when I was growing up, my family is like a Disney family, but also Broadway. So I grew up like listening to tons of Broadway shows and forcing my parents to put on Hairspray, the musical, on loop in the car. I would when I was like, I think I was super young. When my dad would play piano, I would drum out the rhythms to it, and when he would change the time signature and rhythms, I would change with that. And I've just kind of grown up surrounded by music and loving music. When I was like, I think I officially started playing when I was like 4. That's when I started learning piano, and then singing and dancing and acting followed.
And then what was your first time on stage? When did you get that first bug of theater? Or maybe not the first, but an early memory of being on stage.
Early memory? Well, I think my first thing I ever did on stage was Aladdin Jr. at my this was like when I was like 6, I think. I did Aladdin Jr. and I played Orphan number 2.
It's a good role.
It was actually really cool. But that's the earliest memory I had of it.
Wait, why was it? What was really cool about it?
The set. The set was really cool. The music as well. And then that's when I kind of realized I really love doing this. This is what I want to do. And I followed that dream, and then I did The Wiz Jr.
Okay.
Also, like, regional And then when I was 8 years old, I moved up to New York we used to go to New York every summer for like 2 weeks, 3.5 weeks. So in 2015, we went up to New York for 3.5 weeks and we never left. That's when I was cast in my first professional production, A Christmas Story on Tour, when I played Randy.
And so what was that like? I mean, you had gone from The Wiz Jr. and that audition process, and then all of a sudden to Christmas Story. So what was that like for you? Can you take us through that process? Especially with Christmas Story was big with the tour.
Well, The Wiz Jr. wasn't really an audition process. It was kind of like, sing, okay, we'll email you in a week. But A Christmas Story, because it was like professional, it was an actual national tour. It was like a normal audition process that you do in New York City.
So so some of our friends that are watching maybe have not been in that situation. So do you remember, it was a while ago, but do you remember the different steps? It wasn't just one audition and you were in, right?
Right. Oh yeah. There for most Broadway shows and off-Broadway shows and national tours, there are multiple steps to being in the production. First, you go. Sometimes, if you don't have an agent, you go to the open calls. If you have an agent, you get an appointment. Then from there, you go to callbacks, where it's kind of usually it's singing and dance callbacks for dance shows. Sometimes it's just singing. Sometimes it's just dance. And from there, if you move on to the next part, you go to usually another callback. And there are multiple callbacks until you get to the final callbacks, where from there they make their final decisions. And you don't hear anything for about 2 weeks, and you start to forget about it, but then suddenly, boom, and you get an email. And if you got it, it says, congratulations, we're so happy to have you part of this. And if you don't, well, don't worry, there are other jobs for you. It just wasn't the perfect fit.
When you went in because you got to do 2 different tours of A Christmas Story, right?
Yeah, it was the same production company, but yeah, I did one as Randy and then one as Ralphie Understudy / Boy Swing.
And so when you did both of those auditions, because did they have you read with multiple as Randy, did you read with multiple Ralphies or multiple moms?
They paired up children, so it was you would have one Randy, one Ralphie, and they would pair you up. So yeah, that's what happened. For my first audition, that's what happened. The second one, that also happened. Except that the second one was for Ralphie.
Right. So, okay, so now you're on tour. How old were you? You were 9?
Yeah, I was 9 years old when I did my first tour, 10 for the second year.
What about school?
That's when I went into online school, which made things so much easier. I could work at my own pace, and that made me get super ahead in school because they would make us do school every single day of the week.
And then how many kids were with you on A Christmas Story? Was there a little gang of you?
Yeah, there were 12 kids.
Okay. And your mom came with you, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
My dad and sister, because my dad has to work here in Florida, he would come up on certain stops with my sister to see us. And then they would
And did you like that? Did you like being on tour? We've had a couple different people talk about tour life, and you're in one city one day and one the next, or you get a nice little week. Were you able to take advantage of seeing the country?
Yes and no. I did get to see some cool stuff on tour. tour life is just a whole lot of fun because your castmates sort of become your family for 2 months. Well, for me, it was like 4 months. No, 6 months because they're counting rehearsal months. But it's a lot of fun. You get to see some cool things. Sometimes you get to sightsee, sometimes not. My first year of tour, we had 1-week stops in different parts of the country, and we ended with a 2-week run in Denver. My second year, though, things were a bit more separated as we had 2 days in one place, 2 days in another, a week there, nope, another 2 days, and just kept going on like that.
That's a lot. That's a lot of travel.
Oh yeah, and so we weren't able to see much stuff in those stops.
Have you continued to do training yourself, even though you're not in a school? Or do you take voice lessons? Do you take dance classes, acting?
Yeah, I take with Julia Mendelson. She's the best. She teaches most of the kids on Broadway. And for dance, I go to Dance Molinari. It's an incredible place, very inclusive, and there most of the Broadway kids take there as well. Now, because we're not able to see each other, we have online classes. Zoom classes.
Dancing in your living room.
Yes, so I do dancing right there. That's my tap board.
Oh, perfect.
And my ballet board.
Yep.
All dancing board.
We have a question from Sunny. Did you, on either tour, did you have a wrangler on tour? Can you explain to some of our friends what a child wrangler handler is?
A child wrangler is a child guardian is someone who usually, or sometimes in the case of the tour, they understudied a role in the show. So the person who was on our tour, Michael Thatcher, my first year, he's the best. He was actually just on Broadway in The Play That Goes Wrong. He understudied the dad, and he wasn't, and what happened was he was put as the child wrangler.
Okay.
So he's in charge of keeping all the kids in check, making sure they get to their spots, when it's places that the child wrangler makes sure that the kids are in the places that they should be and that they don't miss their cue. And the child wrangler is really the savior of the show, because without a child wrangler, some kids would just be like, "Oh, where do I go?" Because with being on tour when I was little, the theater would change every week, so we wouldn't always know where to go. Sure,
especially on tour, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's go on. Okay, so you did Christmas Story, amazing, and I know you've done some other stuff, but I want to jump to your own show, The Perfect Fit. How did that come? Have you always written music? How did that sort of come about?
When I was, you wouldn't expect a 5-year-old to write love songs, but that's what I did. That's how I kind of started out, writing these cheesy love songs, and I'm like, no, I really like writing music, and that kind of grew. And then when I was like 11, I'm like, I'm a composer, I'm a writer. There are no jobs right now for kids. I'll make work for myself. And that's what I did. And I started kind of like drafting it when I was 11. I fully wrote it when I was 12. And then we submitted it to an off-Broadway musical theater festival last year. And it got accepted. And we had a limited off-Broadway run. It was a lot of fun. I actually won, the show actually won a couple of awards, which was really cool. It got really good feedback. We had a all-star Broadway cast, and the music was fully orchestrated, which was fun. I finally got to hear my music fully orchestrated.
That's amazing. Were you in the show? Was the cast all young people?
No. I wanted to analyze the different shows that were all kids on Broadway and be like, those shows did really well, but what happened? And I realized you can't have a show that's just kids. You also need adults as well, and that's what I did. The show wasn't just all kids. There are a lot of adults. Actually, when I was little, there was this show called Johnny and the Sprites.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, someone who was in it actually was in my show as well.
Amazing. Were you starstruck?
Yeah. Hello. Just a little. I was in the show as well. I played the role of Jake. Really fun character to do and really fun character to write as well, because I made him as awkward and quirky as possible.
That's not you at all. I don't know what you're talking about. We have a question about that from Joanna. She wants to know, what is it like to have a show that you wrote accepted to the festival? You explained a little bit, like, how did that make you feel?
I was actually, when I heard that happened, I was actually in LA doing the Little Mermaid live film with Alan Menken, Leah Michelle, Harvey Fierstein, and Alan Menken, who's one of my idols. He's so incredible to work with and so super sweet. And I heard about it when we were out there, and I was kind of like, well, that's happening. Like, we need a cast now.
Were you part of that process?
Well, submitting the shows to the festival, yes, but it was a complete
No, were you part of the casting process?
Oh, yes, I was.
So for some of our friends that are aspiring actors and actresses, you've had these rare opportunities where you've been on both sides of the tables. What did you learn from being on that, watching people audition for you?
To everyone who's just starting out in the business or been in the business in a while and is still auditioning or keep auditioning, one piece of advice is that two pieces. Number one, don't stop auditioning, because there's bound to be something for you. Number two, the casting directors are always rooting for you. The casting directors are where you're like, I don't like that person. No, it's they're all rooting for you and they all want you to succeed.
Yeah, those are two very important things. Thank you for explaining those. Those are good. All right, so I knew this was going to happen. We need a little more info about Little Mermaid Live. Abigail and I both want to do. How did that come about? Who did you play in it? I mean, can you give us any behind the scenes scoop of what that was like?
It all started with the other Josh Cohen. It was a musical. It was the first time I saw it off Broadway. I saw it in April last year, and there I saw one of my friends, Michael. Was it Michael Weiner? Or no, it was Alan Zachary. He's written musicals like he's writing the music for 17 again, 13 going on 30. What other shows did he write?
First Date.
Oh, he wrote First Date. He writes with Michael Weiner a lot of Disney stuff.
Okay.
Which I'm like, and I got to work with him, and we saw each other there, and he I think it was his cousin, wrote the music to the other Josh Cohen. And I know this sounds really weird and kind of off topic, but don't worry. Here's where the fun part happens. We were talking, and I'm like, yeah, I'll work wherever, because I've been to LA before, and I'm ready to do whatever, because I want to go back to Disneyland. No, but he's like, oh, you would work in LA. Hold on, and he pulls out his phone and texts someone, and he's like, yeah, one of my friends is looking for a kid for a production in Hollywood, for a musical in Hollywood, and they had me submit we kind of forgot about it, and then like a week later, they someone messaged us, I think it was a producer, and they're like, hey, can you send us a video of you singing? And I'm like, okay. And we did that a little bit. That went on for a little bit, and then we heard that I'm going to be performing at the Hollywood Bowl, and then the cast list came out.
Can you tell everyone who you played?
I played Flounder. Flounder. I sang She's in Love. It was so much fun to do. I got to work with so many great people. Leah Michelle, Harvey Firestein. Who else did I work with? Peter Gallagher, Cheech Marin, Alan Menken, and all these great people. And they were so incredible to work with. One of the cool things was, I think Harvey Firestein was one of the first people to know, because I told him he was one of the first people to know about my show going there. And he's like, oh my gosh, how old are you? And I'm like, at the time I was like 12. And he's like, and then he asked me a question, I answered, and he's like, I see, I know. And then he told Alan Menken that I was doing it, and Alan Menken's like, oh, I heard about your show, and I'm like,
yeah, normal. That's just normal.
Yeah, the person who wrote my childhood just told me that he heard about the show that I was that I were going off Broadway, and I'm like, ah.
It's fantastic. That's so cool. Who was your Ariel?
Oh, Leah Michelle.
Leah Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's jump ahead to Trevor now. So how did that project come to you? Can you maybe give us a little synopsis, because it's such a fantastic, important story.
The synopsis of the show, or
yeah, the synopsis of the show.
The synopsis. The show is about a young boy who loves musical theater and is trying to find his place in the world and what he wants to do.
Great, perfect. And then, so how did the project come to you? How did you get involved?
Well, in 2017, I did a production in LA at Trevor Live, hosted by the Trevor Project, and I got to sing one of the songs there. I got to sing a song from the show called Stranger, and a fun thing is, it's like the Trevor Live is kind of this huge event where a bunch of stars go to support the Trevor Project, and Kristen Chenoweth was there, Tom Ford, Fergie, who are the other people? Carol Burnett. I met her backstage, and I'm like, the funny thing about that, I walked off stage from the show. I just performed. I walked backstage, and Carol Burnett was just sitting there. What? Oh yeah, she told me to go back out and bow. Best. And then I got to audition for this production of Trevor. And I was Trevor Understudy. And we were in rehearsals for that. And then they told me, hey, you're really smart. That's actually what they said. You should be the swing. You have to understudy all these roles. And I'm like, okay.
So explain that to me. So when you're the understudy or the swing, when you're in rehearsal, are you standing and learning? What do you do during rehearsal in that case?
In that case, well, I was also an ensemble member as well. And what would happen was I would be in some numbers, and then I would be standing off to the side when I wasn't on and taking notes. Because if you ever God forbid, if anyone gets sick in the cast, the swing is the one to go on, or the understudy is the one to go on their place, just being thrown in. And that's happened to me a couple times before, in A Christmas Story when I was swing. And so it's your job to make sure that you understand every part, you know all the choreography, and make sure that you know every single role in the show in case someone else has to pull out.
How does your brain not explode?
You know, I don't know anymore.
You're able to do it. That does not surprise me. Really quickly, before I get to all these questions, can you tell us about the the early night show that you do?
The early night show, well, when we were still in New York, it was a cabaret series or a cabaret variety show that I would do with tons of Broadway stars. I would accompany, host, and music direct it. But since I'm not able to do that now, I created something called the Early Night Show Virtual Edition, the Corona Cabaret. And we're having tons of Broadway stars. Some people that we've had so far are Luke Islam, who was the Golden Buzzer on AGT, America's Got Talent. He was a finalist, or I think he was a semi-finalist. And we had Carly Gendel and a bunch of other Broadway stars who've been some shows include Frozen, Shrek. I don't even remember all of the shows. But yes, lots of School Rock Kids, Matilda, lots of things like that. And I accompany, I host, and it's really fun. And we release episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have some exciting news with that coming soon. I'm not able to say it now. Maybe within the next week. I don't know yet.
Are they they're on YouTube? They're on your Instagram? Where
you can find them on my YouTube page, which is Joshua Turchin. Or wait, what? Yeah, my Instagram is @Joshua Turchin. You can find all of the videos on there. If you want to follow the Early Night Show, the website, you can go to theearlynightshow.com, and you'll find everything on there.
Okay to go. All right, I'm going to get to some of these questions. Samaya wants to know, where did you sleep on tour? Did you share a room with the other kids?
No. They were nice enough to give the company was nice enough to give everyone every family their own hotel room, which made things so much easier. Because if all the kids were all in the same room, things would get chaotic.
Just a little bit, I think. Yes.
A little bit.
Okay. Abigail wants to know, how often and when does an understudy perform?
It honestly depends. I mean, it can happen anytime within. You may never go on within a 6-month period, or you go on every Wednesday. I have a story with that about going on. It was the first preview of my second year of A Christmas Story when I was swing, and the person who played Schwartz, he was like 5 minutes before the show started, he got really sick, or he started not feeling well, and the entire production crew came running at me. I was exiting the dressing room I was in, the boys' dressing room, and I saw them running towards me with the Schwartz costume. They're like, "Josh, you're gonna go on." And I'm like, "What?" And remind you, I was really sick. I had no voice. My voice sounded like this. I had a super, super raspy voice, and I went on, and it went really well. And sadly, he didn't go on for the next 4 days. He went on opening, but he didn't go on day after that. Thankfully, though, after that night, I wasn't sick anymore. My voice didn't sound like a tortoise.
sure never sounds like a tortoise. Actually, that's a good segue. You're gonna sing a song for us?
Oh, yes, I am. This song is one of the new songs from my musical, The Perfect Fit. It's called The Tonys Are My Super Bowl. I guess I'll just sing it for you.
Yeah, perfect.
Actually, first I'm going to mute this so there's no background noise. Can you hear me still?
Yes, you're perfect. Smart boy.
Yeah. I was 6. Back then I played soccer because I thought that's what other boys did. I kicked a goal for the other team, then yelled touchdown. I just didn't fit. The other boys got so mad at me, but I honestly didn't care. The parents told me, get off the field. I didn't want to be there. I remember show and tell one day at my school. I brought my accordion, thinking I was cool. I played half the gala and waited for applause. The boys all made fun of me, called me a lost cause. I like to post videos of Josh Rubin covers, or watch Disney movies when I get the chance. Some boys like to play sports or fight or curse. Some boys write music and act and dance. I want to fit. I'll pay the price for paying me. Let the punches roll in. One day I'll make them see. I have no idea what to do. Score that perfect goal. But I am still a guy. It's just the Tonys are my super. A few years later, I started taking karate. The sporting boys were so good at it. I was a helpless wannabe. Girl, I liked to relax. I wanna be a guy. I tried my best to break a board, but the board flew up and hit my eye. I can't do a perfect roundhouse to make the bullies run away, but I can do a triple pirouette and write new music and punches roll in. One day I'll make them see. I have no idea what to do to score that perfect goal, but I am still a guy. Just the Tonys are my super. It's just that no one ever cared about what I would say. One day I hope they'll listen to me. Not running. I'm strong. They think I'm weak. They call me fairy stuff. Again, I write. I do theater, but it's not okay. I'm a normal human being. What do they say? You're just a child boy. You're fake. They would never let me speak. I'll never fit. I hate price for I want to fit. I know they'll never see. I have no idea what to do. So that perfect goal, but I'm still a guy. Just the Tonys are my super. I have no idea what to do to score that perfect goal. My instruments are my only friends, and the Tonys are my super.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Joshua, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh my gosh, all these people are just blown away. So you wrote all of that. When you write songs, do you get a melody in your head? Do you know what you're gonna write, or do you just play until you play something?
Sometimes I hear a melody in my head and I'm like, oh wait, I like that. And I hear a melody and I play the piano and I'm like, oh, I like that. And then other times I'm like fiddling around something on piano and I'm like, wait, I can hear this, and I play more of it, and eventually the lyrics just come in, and I have a song. It just usually I don't really know. It depends on if I create the lyrics first or the melody or the accompaniment. It depends song to song.
Will you unmute the thing you muted earlier?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Wait, I can hear you. It was just a little quiet. Do you have any advice for our aspiring composers? Do you write a melody first? Do you know, what's a great way for them to start?
My advice is that write however you want, because if you want to write a melody first, you do that. No one can tell you how to write a song. That's one of the things I've learned, because you only know what you know what you're capable of, and you write to that. That makes sense.
I love that. No, that's perfect. I mean, you got to write what you know, and you got to write how you're comfortable. All right, I have one last question here before I have to let you go. So you are a Camp Broadway alum. You did Shining Stars with me on Camp Broadway in New York, and you know that our motto is develop your character. So what does character mean to you?
To me, character means being who you are and discovering what you want to do. It also means like discovering what you love to do, and if you want to keep doing it, keep doing it.
Perfect. That is lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Tell everyone, just remind everyone again, where are all the things that you find, how they can find you and follow you and discover everything?
I think Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can follow me at Joshua Turchin. For the early night show, what is the Instagram for that? Yeah, my Instagram is just at Joshua Turchin, and you'll find everything from there.
Perfect. And you can please follow all of the Camp Broadway channels, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that fantastic things. On Monday, join us. This is going to be so exciting. We have Bill Berloni, who is the professional animal handler on Broadway. And he is going to be with us on Monday at 1:30. Please come back and join us. Have a great weekend. Joshua, thank you again. You're the best.
You're the best.
Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
You.